so excited for this one. We are welcoming some amazing legends in the comic world. And this panel is going to be hosted by one of the greatest human beings that I've ever known. He is a very dear friend of mine. He is probably, I'd say, the greatest thought leader on the subject matter of all comics to have ever lived, perhaps, is my personal opinion. You know him from The Real Rejects. You know him from DC Comic Showcase. You know him, Coy Jadro! Hey, everybody.
Hi.
Hey, everybody.
Hi.
There's that Comic-Con energy. Thank you. How is our day so far?
Woo.
Great.
That's good.
You feeling good?
Yeah.
You guys want to meet some X-Men legends?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We want to meet some X-Men legends?
Yeah.
All right, first up, let's bring out Eric. Is Eric here? Is Eric? Yes, please join us.
And Julia, these people gave me my childhood. Without them, the X-Men are in a very different place. And as a 4-year-old, they taught me what it meant to love mutants. We're gonna put the two of you together. We'll pair you up. And let's bring out the voice of Bishop, Mr. Isaac. And we're giving up for Isaac Robinson-Smith. And last but certainly not least, one of my favorite artists of all time, the creator of one of my favorite characters of all time, the one and only Rob Liefeld.
Hi, how are you?
Doing good, man. I love that music cue. You got to come out to like There are so many microphones. I feel slightly intimidated. We'll share. There we go. Oh wait, here you go. I got spares. I have too many microphones.
It's good. I don't think so. Hold on, I'll let you take mine. No, it's all good. Okay.
It was just a button.
So I gotta kick this off by, I found out just the other day that you two had not met Rob until right now.
Whoa, how are you? Well, I praised you profusely, is that the right word?
Oh, yeah,
my
yeah.
podcast,
Yes,
and
you
all
do.
of your incredible accomplishments, and your book, buy their book, it's for a good
Yes.
cause, it's in there,
Yes.
get it, that is an incredible era, and they're still on the show, which is incredible.
Which is so important to me because I can vouch, Rob and I have talked about you guys, but I didn't know you guys hadn't met because we've gushed over you together. So what's it like to meet someone who created such a formative character for the show?
Writing can be a very isolating kind of occupation. You're sitting there either with your notepad or your computer, and we worked out of home offices back when X-Men, the original, was being made. We didn't meet anybody. And over the course of 30 years, you don't meet everybody, and we never
I can vouch because I never leave the house. There may be 3 days I don't leave. I just am isolated. We're just isolated hermit creatives.
But we finally got you traveling. It took some time, but now we got you traveling.
That's right. That's right.
It took this for us to get a chance to meet you. I think that's pretty
Your
special.
book, I loved it. Your book gave me so much insight into how you work with Bob Harris and the creatives at because I love all those people. When you were bringing that show together. I don't think you guys know that X-Men, original X-Men series in the 90s, I mean, I was in my 20s when it debuted, but it was like I was back as a kid watching Saturday morning cartoons. It was on Saturday morning, but I never missed Saturday morning cartoons when I was a kid. And then I'm like, oh my gosh, my favorite stories are coming to life, and it's behind these brilliant minds who are so faithful to the material. I mean, so that's, I think everybody, myself, Jim Lee, Chris Claremont, we were just so excited to see the stories that we loved from Chris, from John Byrne, brought, so respectfully to screen. Amazing.
And what I loved about our conversation the other day when Rob came up about doing this panel is that when you guys were doing Cable in the original show, it was brand new, so he was not yet out of the mystery era. Like, Cable was still like, what's he gonna be? Who is he? So I love that now in this reprise, Cable's had some years to explain himself.
He's gotten really big and deep. I mean, all we had was he's gruff and he shoots at people.
Yeah.
Was what we were handed, and I kept on asking, there were 2 or 3 characters I kept on asking Bob Harris, and I said, what about this Gambit guy? He's Cajun and mysterious. Got much more? And look what he's grown into. Look what those 2 characters have grown into.
And now the pop culture awareness is so different. Like when you guys were making the X-Men show, I remember Pizza Hut and VHSs. Yes. I remember people knew like the Big Six. But now we have characters like Bishop getting to be sassy and out there and doing the work. So Isaac, I love that you've added so much like stank on him this season.
It's been really fun.
I want to know what's been the journey from like the page to vocalization for this season, because I feel like he's getting a lot more time to shine.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's all credit to the writers and the creators. I mean, I just, I love the fact that there's been more of an expansiveness with the characters kind of in general, because like in the first season we kind of got reacquainted with who they are, and I mean, obviously incredible stories that we got to immerse ourselves with, and then now there's more dimension being added. So yes, Sassy Bishop has been like a really fun thing to play with, and being in the booth doing that and has been just a joy. It's always fun to go to work. So.
Can we get an official, unofficial comments on your feeling toward Lorna?
Oh, unofficial, off the record?
Yes, off the record.
Microphones at an official convention, yeah. No, I was just talking to somebody about this recently. I mean, I've had a lot of fun with this storyline and where it's going, and I can't say too much, but what we've explored and what we've seen so far, I feel really good about. I love watching it. Seeing it after, a year and a half recording it ago, is really gratifying, just to see how it feels and that it's playing and people are enjoying and they're embracing what's going on with the two of them, so it's been great.
I ran into Brad Winterbaum at Comic-Con, which we just had Comic-Con, which was such a whirlwind. And it was really interesting talking to him about his experience because, he's running a giant department that has so many shows, but he's like, the way people have embraced Polaris and Bishop this season, and I was like, those are not names I expected to be like talking about in 2026 Comic-Con.
I saw somewhere online, someone, and I don't know who did it, but I was laughing because somebody combined the names to be bipolar.
Yes.
Was one of the names. So that's pretty funny. Yeah.
Now, I wore this shirt on purpose because this feels very much like the return of the 90s in so many ways. The 90s are back in fashion, they're back in how much Gen Z and Gen A are collecting physical media, a lot of our favorite characters are the 90s, and I would argue two of the biggest pieces of the 90s for me were you two and that gentleman down there bringing me so much of the joy of what fiction could be. And I was a wee lad, like I was a little dude, I was born in '88, but the mid-90s I think are what informed how I see media today. And now we're seeing a new era kind of discover it as like a new idea. So I'd love to know, as creators, what it's like for you to see this like redux, this 90s part 2. We'll start with Rob.
Well, first I just want to tell you, when I see you and I've seen you travel, and I love all the attention that voice actors are getting. It's long overdue. You guys, the voices bring so much to the characters. Again, since I was a little kid, whether it was a Super Friends or Spider-Man or Thundar the Barbarian, and you, that really what I call your spotlight episode with Polaris, the Danger Room stuff. It just, see, when I'm watching you on screen, Bishop on screen, I'm thinking of my buddy Will Spartaccio, who created you, and then when I see Gambit, I see Jim Lee. I'm thinking of our time together in the office in the 90s, and I just want to say, I am a guy, as an artist and as a creative, and I've always been pretty free with my mouth, and I don't really have a filter, and I don't care, because I just want to be able to speak truthfully, and I rail against bad executives all the time. But the X-Men office was transformed by a guy named Bob Harris. It's Harras, not IS, people always, but Bob came into the X-Men and recognized, probably before the readership did, that it was time for a change. And it was difficult. I will speak to the fact that I was given the job to transform the New Mutants about 9 months before I was on the job, because he said the artist had just had a child and he wanted to ease him off the book, and that if I could wait, and I did, I waited the better part of a year until it was my time at bat. But he was a really caring guy, and he would move people around. Mark Silvestri, I was on a panel with him at San Diego 2 weeks ago, and he's like, I lost my job to Jim Lee. But they were like giving him Wolverine to like satiate him because he drew such a great Wolverine. But that time and the rearranging of the chairs is why you have Gambit and Bishop and Cable and Deadpool and X-Force and all these great storylines that you've seen adapted. And that's an editor who saw his assignment, who took it seriously, and brought in a bevy of fresh talent. I got excited when I saw X Factor. That's all of Larry Stroman and Peter David's ideas, and I'm like, I love those guys. My one great regret is that I never got to draw them, because by the time they were really coming into their own, we were forming Image Comics. But the Byrne and Claremont X-Men is my favorite run of all time. I own like 30 pages of the original art. I have it under 10 locks and keys. Then being able to contribute ourselves and our kind of band of brotherhood that gave you Bishop and gave us Bishop. And like I said, you guys have been great stewards. And so I just am excited. So when I watch the show, and next week, ooh, baby, that is a finale. I've been really good and shut my mouth for a month. I watched that 4 weeks ago and said, they let cable do this? And I literally was watching going, it's not gonna happen. Is that gonna happen? Is that gonna happen? It happened. Oh crap. Watch it on Wednesday or Tuesday at midnight, like most of us do. My wife the other day, and then I'll shut up. She's like, all you do is, I'm gonna show you how I watch X-Men when it comes on the TV, not when it has an iPad with a name across it that I, compromise if I showed anything. They're very smart. So I got my big screen TV and X-Men's on it. And my wife is like looking over her shoulder, she's getting ready in the morning, and she's like, you haven't put your arms down for 20 minutes. I'm like, there's a lot of stuff to take pictures. I need this for my socials. So thank you for the great show. Thank you, it's fantastic.
We got to see it in theaters, and again, we're not going to give anything away about it, but I definitely had the experience of like, I don't take my phone out of theaters, but I was actually tempted, and that's like a cardinal rule for me. And hearing that theme song across like a surround sound, all that experience was so special, but for you to come back to this show, that meant so much to us as viewers, but has meant so much to you as shepherds of what X-Men are. What was it like to experience an audience watching it with you?
Oh, to have an audience watch it and to see it on the big screen. You know what? It should always be on the big screen.
I agree. I want to tour with it like a road show. I want to go around the world with you guys talking X-Men.
Yeah, tell our boss we're ready to write an animated movie. Come on. What's 120 minutes? How long is it to write?
But since we're here talking about X-Men, the animated series, and everything that came before, and how we're here now with X-Men 97, I have to give a shout out, we have to give a shout out to the woman who made X-Men the animated series possible, and that is a woman named Margaret Lesh, who was the president of Fox Kids Network, for those of you who are old and remember Fox Kids. She was one of Stan Lee's close friends, worked at Marvel for a number of years, I'm gonna sell an X-Men show, couldn't give it away. We can thank ABC, NBC, and CBS for passing. Then she became president of Fox Kids Network and said, I am making 2 shows, Batman and X-Men. Yes. Batman happened and it's beautiful, but you were given 7 months to create a show. And her boss said, X-Men is not gonna work. I'll give you 13 episodes. When it crashes and burns, you're out of a job, okay? And she said, I'll do that.
It's a deal. And the rest of us, the artists, the writers, we worked, and we kept on getting notes from people that were seeing the artwork and seeing the scripts, not from Marvel people who understood, but from television station owners and advertisers. Said, I can't sell cereal to kids watching this adult stuff. What are you doing? Stop. And Margaret stood up for us and said, no, this is what my creative team wants to do. I understand the books. They're doing the books. Just hold on, you just don't make a stop now. And it came out, and of course, all the criticism stopped. Because all you guys watched it 4 times in repeat, recorded it, and made it this huge #1 hit for them. And it was such a gift to us. I mean, so many times in kids' TV and animation, you get these notes, oh, this is way too complicated, dumb it down. Stop trying to push these things. Kids will get confused. And I said, I wasn't confused when I was a kid. I was excited. If I didn't get half of what the heck was going on, I wanted to watch it again. So that's what we were thinking at the time. And the fact that Margaret not only let us do it, but pushed us to do it was great.
And the impact of that decision is so insane when you look at 2026, because I think all the time about Sony being like, we don't want those other characters, just Spider-Man. Like, $5, not even. And it's insane now, and Fox obviously having the rights to X-Men in part because of this decision in 92 led to the movie getting made in 99, released in 2000. Without Blade and X-Men, we don't get Spider-Man in the MCU. Like, we don't get to this point. So I would say her decision of those 13 episodes is why there there are billionaires today. Like, it's a very staggering zoom out. But going back to the character use and which characters were utilized, was there anyone you wanted to use in the original run of the 90s show that didn't work out for any reason?
Not really. It was kind of reverse. You know, Rob can speak to this when you're trying to populate your, say, comic books. And when populating the show, you got 22 minutes to tell a story. And we've got 8 X-Men and their friends and their girlfriends and their adversaries and their adversaries' cousins. It gets very busy. You can't spend more than, you know, with a comic book, at least you can look at it and kind of mull over and spend time. In the TV show, it goes by. So we had to try to kind of keep the number of characters down. It was, the fans wanted more and more in, but a struggle in writing was keeping the number of characters down. So to be honest, when I was dumped in the deep end of this show in '92, I looked and I saw there had been 29 mutants that had been X-Men at one time or another, from 1963 to 1992. And okay. And we all had the discussion with the powers that be, with Fox and Marvel, okay, who were going to be the 7 or 8 characters going to be the core of the show. And to be honest, 4 or 5 of them we all agreed on right away, but other ones grew. You know, Cable grew, Bishop grew. Bishop was a decision, as we were talking about earlier, was, you know, at the end of the season, we need somebody to come back from the future, because we didn't quite feel comfortable with Kitty Pryde's ghost coming back. It didn't quite work for us. So we chose Bishop, and suddenly, you know, he's in 11 episodes. And and Beast was going to be a secondary character. As we're laying out the stories, certain people just asserted themselves and made it like, how can we tell stories without him or her?
I think that's really impressive that the organic nature of storytelling allows for each X-Men to kind of fit in a puzzle piece. And recently, the Spider-Man Brand New Day, it was so inspiring to see the MCU used in such a beautiful way that they all served Spider-Man's story. It felt like a Spider-Man movie, but it also was like the best Hulk in years. It also was incredibly different. So I think the X-Men show has always felt like that, where you get true arcs to these characters. Like, we care about Bishop and Polaris, but at no point does it feel like it detracts from anyone else. I wonder if you guys, with this live action adaptation coming up, are there any immutable elements? Are there any things that you feel like are musts that you want to see for it to feel authentic to X-Men? And that's for all 4 of you guys, because you're all vested.
I'm sure all of us could go on for hours, and we don't know anything, trust me.
Yeah, this is not from a place of secrets.
But there are NDAs that we signed that I think may threaten us down the decades, that even if we had something to say about it, I'm not sure. But the X-Men, it's the humanity inside them. It's not the big superpower, it's what's inside them that tortures them, makes them who they are. It's writ large with their mutant powers, but that's, I think, where the core stories come from.
Well, of course, the Gunny is Bishop.
And of course, it's a really interesting thing to see a new generation discover these characters and discover like what depth they have and how long they've been around. For you taking on the role of Bishop, like this has been a couple years of your life investing into this character. Is there anything from inside that you've discovered of the character that surprised you, as opposed to us as fans going like, oh, that's a crazy thing that I wouldn't have thought?
No, you know, I think it's sort of been a slow burn for the things that I've discovered, honestly. One of the things I've talked about before that I really like is kind of, I think the thing that surprised me is how some of the elements of Bishop that exist for him as a character exist in me. Like, I think the biggest one that I've talked about before is, you know, place in your world or your circle and what that means to you and how you live with that, or how you decide what to do with it, or if it's thrust upon you, then what do you do? Because I know, like, one of the things that you're talking about him being a little sassier. I think that there's this interesting kind of paternal thing that's going on in season 2 that I didn't really see a ton of in season 1, where it's like, guys, please listen to what I'm saying. Like, I know how this is gonna go. Like, just, you know, focus on what the game is here. So kind of that idea, but also not having a substantial, like, this is where I belong, because Bishop is sort of all over the place and kind of doesn't have a central place to land. And I think for me, I've kind of gone through that as a person. Like, I've kind of been figuring out where I land in various friend groups or various, you know, factions of people that I associate with. But it's been fun because then I get to discover that it's kind of a found family in a way, and a lot of people that I've come across, which is a lot like the X-Men. And so the exploration that Bishop is doing in that has sort of connected with me in a way I didn't expect. Because when I got the role, I was like, oh, I'll be, you know, a couple episodes and then I'm going to be gone. But for sure, like, I don't know what's going to happen, but I had no idea what the integration of the character was going to mean for me. And I'm very happy about that, so.
And Rob, your love of your characters, likewise, he's talking about from inside Bishop, but yeah,
I don't love him as much as I love Wolverine.
but
Okay?
but I love that you have never had a single interview, or you and I have never had a conversation where it didn't feel like they were your kids. Like, you are so passionate about.
They are.
Yeah.
I mean, you ask any author, anybody who brings something to life and generates it, creates it, brings it into the world, and first of all, you're fortunate enough.
First of all, you're fortunate enough that, thank you, you're fortunate enough that first people respond to them and they like them. And then you get to watch all these crazy adaptations, and it doesn't end with just moving pictures. I have, you know, 100 Deadpool action figures across 30 years. I have 70 Cable action figures. I have 10 Shatterstars. Yes, they made 10 Shatterstar figures. And whether it's statues, whether it's games, it's just fun for these characters. I mean, I think this week Deadpool is in a new game. Is it, how do you say
Total Fighters.
That's it.
Total
Say it again.
Tocom.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Tocon. Okay,
Yeah.
so like, and he was in Rivals a few months ago. He had his own freaking virtual reality game. So, and you know, sometimes Cable wanders in, sometimes X-Force is in. Even when Garrison Kane is only on screen for 2 minutes,
Blew my mind.
it's a tremendous thrill. And because I go, this is a 10 Little Indians episode. 10 Little Indians mean that 9 of them aren't making it out, okay? It's based, that is not my moniker, that is something I grew up with. It's Predator is based on 10 Little Indians, okay? At the end, it's only Arnold's. All these other people are, let's just call it cannon fodder. I go, that cockpit is packed. And I was actually sadder for Jim Lee because I love Maverick. Because I'm like, oh, they did Maverick dirty too, so I don't feel so bad, but I really like Maverick. And so even when it's just for a smidge, you get excited. Literally, I was celebrating, because the internet's so fun. It literally is the enjoyment of my life. I'll go on X or Threads, and I'll be like, love Garrison Kane today! And they're like, who's gonna tell him? And like, wait, you think I didn't see it already? Like, I'm celebrating it. Oh, he got done dirty. He got an appearance, period. And that's saying he looked like him, he sounded great. It's awesome. I've been through this rodeo. In the original, if you can find it on the internet, the original Deadpool screenplay by the original writers, Rhett Reese and Paul Wernick, there are 2 giant Garrison Kane Deadpool battles where he uses all of his transformative cybernetics, and they have this killer, very just action-packed exchange. He was cut as Fox was wont to do due to budgetary reasons, because they were like, get this Deadpool movie under 60 million or we're not rolling cameras. And Tim Miller called me, the director, like about 3 weeks before shooting and said, Rob, we lost Kane to the budget cuts. Because I kept seeing cast announcements, I'm like, this must be Kane! Nope. And so you know, Kane now is like this guy that kind of has this, you know, thing. But look, I have so much great stuff to cheer for. I mean, look, and I'm sure all the guys, maybe the only guy who I think would truly be grumpy about this cartoon is John Byrne. I've never heard him weigh in on it, but he's Mikey. He literally hates everything. So that's also a 1970s commercial reference that none of you are going to get. But I mean, what's not to love? This X-Men 97 season 1 and 2 are perfect. I said on my podcast, 10 of 10. Whatever, 5 stars, whatever you need. If you're not watching it, watch it. What are you doing? Go home and watch it. And it's fantastic. So I'm just excited. I'm just glad to see these characters. And like I said, the way Cable has been treated is fantastic. They size him up right. He looks like he walked off the cover, literally, of X-Force #1. I love the voice. I love the lines. This back and forth between him and Scott and Jean that's been building all season. Wowza! That's all I had to say. I may have stood up and cheered. And that's all I'll say.
So he answered 2 of my questions in that one, because I was going to ask, because Garrison Kane was a really funny conversation. You and I first met right after the first Deadpool, and I was like, I read all about it, how do you feel? And then to see him validated now. But also, I love that you guys, when we spoke about Cable, it was such a mystery in the 90s. It was something that like there wasn't a lot of things to source as far as like how to write the character. So now having heard from the creator how it feels, I'd just love to know your thoughts on this Ouroboros of appreciation for Cable.
Well, besides the fact that yes, it will inform us, you know, when we look at what's written for him and what we plan for him in the future. Just a real quick thing. Rob mentioned Bob Harris, who was the head editor at Marvel when we done our original show. All 5 years, he was incredible to work for. I mean, he had like 4 books to get out, and he still would take time to give notes on all our outlines and scripts, and was nothing but supportive. But there's a moment that he referenced to us, and Julia knows, where he basically said he teared up, he cried, and that was when we were getting the voice cast for the original show. And you guys may not know this, but our first shot at it was recorded in Toronto, wonderful actors up there. The first time they did it, they didn't understand that we didn't want it to be X-Men Scooby-Doo babies. So we got back sent, it was before the internet, we got sent the first, Night of the Sentinels, and it was all goofy, over-the-top, cartoony silliness. And I was just lying on the floor dying. Saying, oh my God. So then we went back, and Bob went up there with Joe Calamari and a couple of folks from Hollywood, and they spent 3 weeks getting the voices right. But when Bob was talking about that experience, he said, when they were getting the voices right, like for Wolverine or for Rogue or whoever, and he just said, it was this surreal thing. He started to mist up and said, I've been reading these characters since the 1963 book. And I've lived with them and I've heard them inside me for 30 years. And now I'm watching somebody like this gentleman here make it real. And it's like, it's not like this is the right voice. It's not like this is what I've been hearing. I don't know what I've been hearing. And now I know what I've been hearing. And he said the most surreal part of the whole 5-year experience was when someone would walk into the recording booth and be right for the character. And everybody in the booth knew it, right? That's it, count up, it's it, it's done. And it took 5 seconds, and he couldn't explain why. It was amazing.
And there was a moment in the first season of X-Men 97 where it's Cable and Scott and Jean sitting down in the diner, and the moment where they say, you have my eyes, kind of thing, and I teared up. I thought, oh my God, just knowing as a parent what that means, and then for that moment to play out the way it did, to let it play out the way it did, was just beautiful for Cable and for everybody else. I love that.
They're so great at the show, but they're all great.
To see Slim and Red, to see certain elements that I never thought we'd see on screen in that way. 2 things that happened this season that I never thought we'd see, that absolutely blew my mind, and I gotta give flowers to. We got the Brood. And to see the Brood get a full episode, like a Ridley Scott film, to have the experience of like explaining to my friends who the Brood are, I felt like I was back in the 2000s when people weren't reading comics, and I was like, no, trust me, read this, you gotta check out your X-Men, Grant Morrison. Like, I feel like, guys, the Brood, go back. But also, Chamber is in this show. And Chamber is a character that is even hard to describe how awesome he is, but Generation X getting some love is like Chris Pacello art being something that I can reference in 2026. Feels so special. I'm wondering for each of you going down the line, is there a point of pride or something in your work that you were like, this is something that I really wanted and I'm really proud that this is in ink for the world?
The thing that always makes me tear up is when we finished episode 76, the last episode of the first season. And it's hard to wrap up a series. It's hard to stick the landing. It's really challenging. And the fact that we had, turn it up now.
Okay, I'll step in for you, hon. But the fact that last episode, Graduation Day, where we have Charles Xavier mortally wounded, leaving, and he as a father says his goodbyes to each of his children. And it's so heartfelt, and it's like the animation fell off the rails in that 5th season. We can talk about that. The money just wasn't there. But the writing and the acting, it's just, go back and watch that. Watch him say goodbye and see if you don't choke up too. And I'll sit here with you and say that as well. Yeah.
Also, thank you so much for loving them so much that this is still impacting you these years later. It means that we felt it right, man. Like, thank you.
I can't follow that. What am I gonna do? I don't know if it's a moment in the show necessarily, but I think it's just a moment for me being part of the show. When the first season came out and they had the premiere at the El Capitan Theater in Hollywood, I understood that I was part of something cool. I didn't, but like a lot of us talking about being isolated in what we do, we're in a padded room with no one else except the, director and some of the creators, maybe the writers and some of the other people that are there, maybe some of the animation, but that's about it. And then we leave and then it sort of gets developed on its own. But then I was with my mom, who's been championing, my career since I was a baby. I mean, theaters run through our entire family since I was a kid, so like, that's been great. So she was there, my brother was there, and Brock Powell was with me, who was on, monitoring panel earlier, one of my best friends in voiceover. Went to the premiere, and it was like a slow, like, almost cinematic opening, because I like walked out of the parking garage over in Hollywood Highland, and I was like, wait, is the marquee, does that say X-Men on it? Like, I didn't understand, as it was like the sun was rising. Like, I saw the title of the show, and then the theater that has so many great premieres, and I love, I'm a huge Disney fan, so being in there, and then 1,000 other X-Men fans, and then sitting down and hearing the theme song remixed for the first time in that system, I was like, this is one of the greatest rides of my life. Like, I can't believe this is happening. So, more moments like that have happened since then, but that's like a seminal moment in my life because of everybody here. It's been great.
You could follow that moment. That was beautiful.
Thank you.
Rob?
That was great. You guys all touched me deep. So here's the deal. I can't believe we are simpatico because you jumped me on the Brood episode. And I'll tell you why. It's my favorite Dave Cockrum issue of his run. And Dave Cockrum is the reason we have Colossus and Storm and Nightcrawler. He was the illustrator, he penciled and inked Giant Size X-Men #1. He was a big deal over at DC Comics. He was doing the Legion of Superheroes. Thank God DC pissed him off. That's a story for another time, but he has been very open. There was a situation on the book that he was working on. He walked out of DC, he walked over to Marvel. Giant Size X-Men is the result of that, and that Brood episode is great. It's my favorite issue that he did with Chris. It was in the second run. He sometimes gets lost because we celebrate John Byrne so much and Jim Lee and all these other great artists, but he is an integral part of the backbone of the X-Men. And the fact that they took an episode that in the comic book took place off planet, that entire sequence with the Broods is on another planet, but they put it in the Weapon X facility like, I'm with you. They Ridley Scott, you guys MacGyvered that brilliantly. Like, and there's scenes that are right out of that issue, but it's my favorite Dave Cockrum, and Wolverine's my favorite character, and I've always loved that story. So the fact that they were able to MacGyver that the way you did, and honor, again, these tremendous talents that sometimes get overlooked. Because Dave Cockrum is no longer with us, and he's a guy that I would drive up here to LA, well, we're not in LA, but wherever this is, I would go to LA, and I'm from Orange County, I just closed my eyes and drove up here. The thing is, Dave Cockrum was such a sweet guy, such a jolly guy. I would see him whenever he appeared at the LA Biltmore Comic Cons, and then I worked with him at Image Comics and got to know him and bought art from him, and obviously he passed way too soon. Much like Jack Kirby, who didn't get to live and walk some of these red carpets with the X-Men and the Fantastic Four and the Avengers. So I just love that episode for multiple reasons. And I literally got up after watching it, walked into my garage where only my X-Men, Avengers, and Fantastic Four entire runs are with me at the house. Everything else is in storage. And I went, pulled the issue, went back in my house and spent time with it, because it was like, that's what you do. You go back and you revisit your favorite X-Men runs. So, like you said, all the flowers. The show is great. I'm gonna be so sad when it ends. You're sad? I'm gonna cry on Wednesday. And I'm like, crap, I gotta wait another year?
But I'm so glad it's only a year, because some shows are like, oh, 6 years, come back. We're all very grateful to show it. It's pacing, all of your hard work, meaning we get it every year, getting to revisit moments, getting to open a comic, getting to see the cover recreated in animation, like an actual recreation. It means the world.
X-Force opening credits.
Yeah.
Oh, win! So I was on a flight home from Greece. I I bought the Wi-Fi, and I'm on it, and suddenly, boom, 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 my phone is blowing up because the episode is airing. And everyone's like, are you seeing this? Are you seeing this? I'm like, well, I'm seeing it right now. Now I know. Awesome.
Well, let's give it up for these incredible creators, guys. I say all the time, truly, without your show, I would not do my job. Without Deadpool, I would not be here. I truly am so grateful you guys gave me a childhood, gave me an adulthood. Thank you all so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Let's take a picture, guys.
I'm doing it. If you guys want to be in it, if you want to come gather.